PlayStation's hero shooter from developer Firewalk Studios Concord just wrapped up its first beta weekend, and the response has been pretty positive. Fortunately, if you missed out, another beta weekend, this time open to everyone, is coming right up. Unfortunately, the beta for some reason does not include a training mode for you to test out each of its many heroes, so the only way to try them out is to hop into a match. To give you an idea of what you're getting into, we thought we'd explain what every character does and how best to play them. Before we dive into the characters themselves, a quick PSA on character classes and some other gameplay details. There are 6 classes in total: Anchor, Breacher, Haunt, Ranger, Tactician, and Warden. There are several characters within each class, but they still are pretty unique even when they're under the same umbrella. There are also 2 modifiers to keep in mind: crew bonuses and combat traits. Crew bonuses are appointed to a character based on their class. Anchors receive additional health when healing, Breachers have a faster cooldown on their dodge, Haunts have improved mobility, Rangers have reduced weapon recoil, Tacticians reload faster, and Wardens have a longer weapon range. Concord incentivizes you to try out and change up which characters you're playing as by allowing you to stack crew bonuses in a round. For example, if you pick a Tactician free gunner, you'll have a faster reload. Then if you switch to a Warden, you'll have both the Tactician's faster reload and the Warden's longer weapon range. Ultimately, you can stack up all 6 crew bonuses on a single character, so it's less about picking a character to start with and more about picking a free gunner to finish the round with. Combat traits are tied to Concord's variant system, where you can unlock a new version of an already existing character, but they have a different combat trait. For example, in the first beta weekend, players were able to unlock an additional variant of the character Lennox. The initial variant, Variant 1, has a combat trait that reloads his weapons when he performs a dodge. However, Variant 2, which is unlocked through gameplay, switched out that trait for an increased magazine. You unlock additional variants of free gunners by playing as them and completing specific challenges, so this system incentivizes you to find some characters you regularly want to play as. While different combat traits will add a slight adjustment to gameplay, we believe this guide holds true for no matter which variant of character you play with. Just something to keep in mind when zeroing in on some heroes. Let's start off with Jabari, a ranger, which, if you recall, unlocks the reduced weapon recoil crew bonus. Jabari has a single weapon, his pulse-guided seeker rifle, which is a great medium-range offensive weapon. His first ability is Life Pulse, which sees Jabari throw an orb on the ground that either he or another teammate can pick up to heal, on top of healing all allies within a certain radius. The second ability is the Hunter Orb, which can be thrown out and will magnetize to the closest enemy to deal some basic damage. Jabari's passive restores his life pulse ability on successful eliminations or when his Hunter Orb deals damage. Combined with his triple jump for increased mobility, Jabari is an excellent choice for a starter character that can deal some damage and take advantage of opportunities set up by other free gunners, as well as heal himself and his teammates on the go. Another great starter character is Tio, another ranger. Tio is equipped with 2 weapons, an auto rifle and a sidearm. His 2 abilities are smoke and cluster grenades. While Tio lacks a healing ability like Jabari, he undoubtedly packs more of a punch. Combined with his passive ability that allows him to see through the smoke grenades he throws when aiming down the sights of his 2 guns, Tio is able to simultaneously disorient his opponents while also getting the upper hand by being able to see them through the smog. The final character in the Ranger class is arguably its least newcomer friendly, but definitely one worth testing out: Duchess. Duchess's 2 abilities are Construct Wall and Ruinous Blast. The former allows her to build a wall her and her teammates can pass through, but the opposing team cannot. The latter allows her to create a large sphere in front of her, and any enemy caught in after a few seconds will receive damage, combined with her submachine gun, which deals damage quickly, albeit not as effectively as her fellow rangers, and her passive that prevents her from taking damage from her own abilities. Duchess is built for one specific task: crowd control. If the idea of setting up kill boxes and controlling lanes for other members of your team to take advantage of and go in for the finish excites you, Duchess is a character you should check out. There are 3 tactician characters which all unlock the faster reload crew bonus. The first we'll talk about is Dtar, another beginner player friendly character. Dtar's primary weapon is a powerful burst rifle. Despite being a great character for DPS, Dtar's draw is his abilities. Dtar can drop both healing pads and a dome shield for himself and his teammates. As such, the best way to play Dtar is to find a central, defensible location for your team to return to take shelter and heal up, using your burst rifle to keep enemies at bay. If you do need to move, Dtar's passive grants him some health on a dodge, giving him an edge when it's time to reposition home base. Our own Lucy James was a fan of playing as Dtar over the weekend because of his similarities to Soldier 76 from Overwatch. Another tactician is Lark, who is a fun, fungus-based character that, while not as newcomer-friendly as Dtar, can be a blast to play as once you get the hang of them. Lark's only weapon is their Razor Pod launcher, which shoots out projectiles that eventually break down into tiny shards that track the nearest enemy, allowing you to deal a ton more damage than you initially would think, although the gun has limited range without the Warden crew bonus boosting it. Lark's 2 abilities are Transplant Pod and Spore Seed. The former allows Lark to place a pod on the ground that, when the same ability button is pressed a second time, they will ultimately be transported back to. The latter drops a spore on the ground, which makes Lark and their teammates faster and more damage resistant, while any enemies that get caught in it are slowed and have increased vulnerability. Lark's passive boosts this ability, as it allows them to stack damage resistance from multiple spores that they've placed on the ground. When playing Lark, it requires a synergy between all their various abilities to be effective. They are particularly good at choke points, where they can give your team damage resistance while ensuring the enemy team has to take damage to push through. Supervising producer Aaron Sampson also has the useful tip of placing Lark's transplant pod on a healing pad, so if they start taking damage, they can quickly disappear and get healed in an instant. Of the 3 tacticians, Kyps is by far the most vulnerable, with an ultra focus on stealth. Equipped with a burst pistol, Kyps is designed to finish off an enemy that's separated from their group. Her first ability, Surveillance Trap, reveals an enemy when triggered, and her second ability negates an opponent's abilities and shields, giving Kyps a slight edge in a confrontation. This ability also resets Kyps' dodge charge, which grants her invisibility for a time after dodging. And even when taken out, Kyps is able to help the team by temporarily revealing her killer's location to the rest of her squad. Kyps is probably the character that is the most designed to support other characters out of everyone in the Concord roster. There are currently only 2 anchor characters in the game. Anchors are the most tank-like characters in the Concord roster, and are granted additional health while healing. The first anchor is the robot One-Off. One-Off's weapon has 2 modes, a vacuum and a pressure blaster. The vacuum mode not only allows One-Off to suck up any incoming projectiles in front of him or deployed items left on the battlefield by enemies, but also feeds One-Off's 2 abilities. The first is Air Barrier, which allows One-Off to drop a pod that also sucks up any projectiles that pass over it. The second is a Trash Bomb, which is a bomb made of all the trash One-Off collects. The alternate firing mode, the Pressure Blaster, deals damage in a smaller cone than the vacuum mode sucks in. As such, despite being a big, tanky character that can take a ton of damage, One-Off isn't the best at directly dealing with enemies. More so, he's there to support his allies by preventing enemies from targeting them, either by sucking up their attacks or literally being the bigger target. He's also great for clearing enemy deployables off the map, particularly as they don't disappear when those enemies die. The other anchor is a more offensively focused character, Emari. Emari has a Gatling gun, along with two abilities, Armor Generator and Projectile Shield. The former allows her to grant armor to allies directly in front of her. The latter puts up a shield in front of Emari, but she can also sacrifice the shield to charge her armor. Combined with her passive, which reduces incoming damage, Emari is a great character for defense that can also deal damage at a distance, something that few tanky characters in other hero shooters can do. As pointed out by one of our freelance writers, Jabari, someone that can balance Emari's offensive and defensive capabilities effectively can easily help carry a team to victory. There are 3 Haunt characters currently in Concord, each unlocking the crew bonus of increased mobility. Let's first talk about Roka, the character with the most direct parallels in the trio to an Overwatch hero, Pharah. Roka, equipped with a rocket launcher, can boost and hover in the air, dropping massive explosive damage from up high. Her second ability then allows her to smash down into the ground from her hover. Combined with a triple jump, which creates explosions thanks to her passive, Roka is designed to hover just behind her team and rain down explosive damage. The enemy team then has to decide to target her or to deal with the rest of her team right in front of them. Her abilities require players to be able to read the room and know when to get out of the fray, but controlled by a player that knows when and how to best utilize her, Roka can be one of the most effective force multipliers in the game. Itzy, equipped with an SMG, is another character designed to get in and out quickly and disrupt the enemy's positioning. Her 2 abilities are Cosmic Slip and Scramble Rebound. The former allows her to send out an orb, which when activated a second time, immediately teleports her to that position, either out of the action, behind, or even above enemy lines, ideally. The latter ability also sends out an orb, but this one will disrupt an enemy's weapon before coming back to Itzy to supercharge hers. Itzy's passive also buffs her abilities, placing a decoy Itzy whenever she dodges or uses Cosmic Slip, further disrupting enemies. As such, Itzy is best played to either deal some initial damage to enemies, allowing her teammates to finish the job, or for her to come in and clean up after the rest of her team has already dealt some big blows. Itzy was senior producer Jean-Luc Sipke's favorite character to play as over the weekend, loving her teleporting abilities and finding her SMG to be rather effective at dealing damage. The final Haunt character is Bazz, who ended up being my favorite free gunner that I've played so far, simply for how unique she feels. Bazz is equipped with throwing daggers which, when they hit an enemy, can track them for a short time thanks to Bazz's passive. Her 2 abilities are Lunging Strike and Scourge Star. The former is a much more powerful version of her standard melee stab, and the latter is an arcing projectile that can make enemies vulnerable. Initially, when testing Bazz, she felt ineffective and vulnerable herself. However, once I played her more, I realized that she required a completely different gameplay style compared to even her fellow Haunts. Bazz is designed to sneak behind enemy lines and literally backstab her foes. On numerous occasions, I was able to help my team completely decimate our opposition by continuously applying pressure from the rear. There are 3 Warden characters, each unlocking the crew bonus of longer range. We'll kick off with Lennox, one of the faces of Concord and the Star-Lord of the group. Lennox is equipped with 2 sidearms, one more heavy and the other lighter. They are meant to be used in tandem. Thanks to Lennox's passive, if you swap to one weapon quickly after emptying the other, you reload that now stowed gun. Lennox's abilities allow him to both heal himself and throw out a fiery knife that explodes on impact. Taking all of Lennox's abilities into account, the character is designed for relentless frontal assault. Several on the team, including Jean-Luc and producer Devontae Chisholm, found Lennox to be the most effective character they tested out when simply going to do as much damage as possible. Next up is Hayner, equipped with a crossbow that can shoot flaming bolts, which are boosted when she aims down sights thanks to her passive. Hayner can be extremely deadly one-on-one. Her two abilities are Blinding Flash and Wall of Fire, which do exactly what they say on the tin. Partnered with a hover and air dodge, Hayner balances direct offense with more crowd control capabilities. Senior producer Jake Decker gravitated toward her over the weekend specifically because of that gameplay balance. The final Warden is Vale, the only sniper currently in the game. On top of that sniper rifle, which offers her faster handling on a headshot, she is given a pistol for more up-close and personal situations. Vale's two abilities are a greater vertical leap and a mine that detonates when triggered by an enemy. Like most sniper characters in hero shooters, Vale takes a bit of skill from the player in order for her to be effective, but Concord's large maps do allow for players to better affine that effectiveness. Our final class is Breaches, of which there are two and have the faster dodge cooldown crew bonus. We'll start with Starchild, another face of Concord and the "we have Drax at home" character. Starchild's only weapon is his shotgun, on top of his two offensive abilities, Rage Rush, which sees Starchild charge forward and into his targets, and Power Slam, which has Starchild slam his shotgun down in a melee attack. Activating either ability gives Starchild Diamond Skin, granting him a little armor, and getting kills refreshes both of those abilities as well. While Starchild can deal out some damage, he can't take too much of it, so he seems designed to knock enemy players out of position, with his own team supporting by either following up quickly or just drawing some of the fire from the opposing free gunners. The second breacher and our final character is Dtar. Equipped with a grenade launcher, Dtar is designed to be played at a greater range than Starchild. Their two abilities are Ignition Dart and Burnite Canister. The latter drops pools of Burnite, which can then be ignited either by their Ignition Dart or fire from another character thanks to their passive. Dtar is great for breaking up a tightly formed group, causing them to splinter and be picked off by their teammates. And that's a complete breakdown of all of Concord's characters. Let us know in the comments which are your favorites, as well as some tips for other players to know when testing out the game's various free gunners. For everything Concord, stay right here on GameSpot.